In today's video, I am going to show you a way to guarantee that your BMS projects achieve the target profit. Sound hard to believe? I tested it 33 times in a row. When you're working on a $1 million project over 12 months, and you need to ensure that you generate $100,000 of profit at the end of that job, the most useful tool to use to achieve that goal is the financial forecast. Now, I think that a lot of you do not use a financial forecast, and I want to just first start and talk about what a financial forecast is and why I think it originally came about before we're getting into understanding what it is and how it helps us. So very large BMS companies, for example, the global manufacturers, they need to predict to their shareholders how much money they're going to make each month and then tell them we're going to release this much money to the shareholders. So what would happen is the project managers would forecast out over 12 months how much money they're going to invoice their customers, and then the branch manager would collect all of that up and totalize it into the branch's 12-month forecast for revenue, and then the national managers would take up all the states' forecasts, pack them together, and then project that up to their managers, who are the global managers. So the point being that the global managers can look at the forecasts over 12 months and tell their shareholders, we're expecting to generate this much revenue every month, and therefore we release this much money to the shareholders every month. Very important. You can't tell the shareholders that you're going to give them this much money and then you don't give it to them and they're investing in your business. That's bad. Now, most of you do not work for companies that are on the stock exchange or that have these type of shareholders. So as a result, I don't think that these sort of tier 2, tier 3 BMS companies actively manage forecasting of revenue, and that's why a lot of you might not be aware of this. So in today's video, we're going to run through what the forecast is, how it works, and how does it help you to ensure a successful outcome. I'll just jump in the laptop quickly and I'll show you the spreadsheet and it'll make a bit more sense. When you do the project management for engineers course, you'll download the spreadsheet, and down here on these tabs are all the checklists you need to do and follow as you go through each phase of the project. So here's the example of the financial forecast. Now, obviously, we're not going to go into this with a lot of detail. I'm just touching on it so you know what it is. This left part here, this is basically just the breakdown from your sales estimating sheet. You know, BMS equipment, servers, network controllers, field controllers, materials, control panels, installation, commissioning, and all these things. And these are the numbers that your sales person or sales engineer had broken up to come to the project value of $1 million. What you have to do is you've got to take these numbers and spread them across the 12-month plan. So you need to sort of rough in your project program before you can do this. And you do that in the project setup phase at the start of the project, first 2 weeks. To help explain this, I've just assumed that my design phase will run for these months. And I know this is a bit longer than usual, but I usually have the design engineers should be more active through the whole project, not just the first part. Then I have engineering for these months, installation for these months, commissioning, and a bit of project management every month in the project. And I've sort of used that to try and line up how I separate these costs across. So when you first do this, you just rough this in. It doesn't have to be perfect because it is quite hard to do this. But over the months, each month, as you fine tune the forecast and checking up on it, then you can more fine tune these numbers and which month they're in. And when you find a certain cost code, for example, installation, I call these cost codes. If there's a problem here, you can focus and drill down on trying to improve these numbers more and more as you correct that. So an example of what would happen here is, say for example, in design, in February, the design engineers are booking time to timesheet, or you yourself are booking time to design. Remember, if you're the project engineer and you're doing everything, you need to find a way of booking your time to different cost codes. If you're doing project management, or you're doing design, or you're writing software programs. So if in February we end up spending $12,000, we've overrun in our forecast. We spent more than we're supposed to. So we're showing an increase in costs in the forecast here, and we're showing a reduction in our margin or our forecasted profit here. So immediately in month 2, you have determined that there's something wrong. If you don't recover some of your design costs here, you will overspend here. So you've either got to try and save money in the design further down the track, be more efficient, or you've got to try and save some money somewhere else with materials or whatever it is. Or in my little plan here, I've actually got $20,000 of risk allowance. I don't think most BMS companies nowadays allow for risk because it gets just taken out. It's the lowest price wins. And another quick thing here is I've got $20,000 in here of defects liability period, so the warranty period. This ensures that I do not by accident spend the $20,000 that I'm supposed to hand over to service when I finish my project. It's very easy to spend that money and you think you've achieved your target and you're very happy about that, and then your boss says, don't forget to hand $20,000 to the service department for them to deal with the warranty for the next 12 months, and you've spent that money. So we go back. So what happens is with the forecast in March, what happens is when your company runs their financial tools and they update to show you exactly how much money you actually spent on materials and control panels and how much money you paid your installation subcontractor, how much money you spent on labor hours. When this runs the real numbers, you come back in here on the 1st of every month and you update these numbers, and you will see that if you're spending less money, your margin will start to increase and there'll be a buffer. If you spend too much money, it'll show you're overspend. You've got to fix that somehow. So the financial forecast is an early warning tool that helps you find problems very early. As you can see, the financial forecast, it's just a spreadsheet. It's not a thing that can help you save money or lose less money. It's just a spreadsheet. I like to think of it as your visual feedback as to how well you are actively managing all the other many components of project management. When something isn't going well somewhere, or something is going well somewhere, as you update the forecast each month with real values, real numbers, it visually shows you how well you're performing financially on all the different cost codes. That's just a name that I made up. I don't know if it's a real name. I'll give you an example. So I did a project once, I think it was about a $2 million project, and I was working the forecast, and it was showing me sort of quite early in the commissioning phase that we were not going to make it. We were going to lose money on commissioning, and that was going to drag the whole job down. And I spent a couple of months trying to fine tune it and try and find ways to improve it, to improve the efficiency of commissioning and exactly how many technicians we had on site, when they were on site, what they were doing, what was holding them up. And I just could not solve the problem. So I went to my manager and I sat down with him and I said, look, can you help me with commissioning? I can't find a way to fix this. And my manager had more experience in these sort of things. He had more experience in the Australian market. I'd only been in Australia for about 3 years. And every month we sat down and we studied the forecast, and together we tried to find solutions. And he helped me. Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Go and double check that. And at the end, when we achieved practical completion, we only just got our commissioning budget in on the right budget, and we achieved our target margins or target profit as we were forecasted. But in the last 3 months of commissioning, I was watching every single hour that the commissioning techs were booking to timesheets. I was going to site every week, walking with them, looking ahead at what plant rooms they're going into, where's air and water balancing, where's power, where we're late on power, how can we be more efficient. It took a lot of effort to do that. And if it wasn't for the financial forecast, I would not have had that early warning that said, Bryce, something's going wrong here, you're not going to make it. Get onto this right now, and for the next 3, 4, 5 months, try and fix this problem. That's why it's important. There's a saying in project management, which is, bad news early is good news. You go to your manager and say, 6 months early, you say, look, the project's going to lose 2 or 3%. That's what the forecast is showing. I can't find a way to correct it. And you tell him, and you guys work together, even if you don't hit that margin and there is a problem, at least the business knows there's a problem, and the business can look at other jobs that are doing well and try and prop up this job or move some money around or do something. There's nothing worse than going to a manager 2 weeks before handover and saying, I don't know what happened, but we're not going to make it on this job. We're going to lose, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 of profit. That's very bad. It's even worse when you're sitting there and your boss says, can you come see me? Why is this job losing money? And you didn't even know it's losing money. So you have to have this sort of repeatable process, something that you're following that's a robust solution that's going to ensure you get to where you need to be. My personal experience is that if you're tracking the financial component of your project really well, the other two sides of the triangle, quality and time, sort themselves out. Cost, quality, and time, the three sides of the project management triangle. I'll give you another example. The three sides of the project management triangle: cost, quality, and time. Usually with those three parts of the triangle, if one of them is a problem, it usually affects one of the other sides. And an example we always have in our industry is commissioning. When commissioning timeframes get compressed, so the time is getting compressed, it affects one of the other two. So either when the time, the project program is changed, you need to put more commissioning resources onto the project to commission faster. That means you're spending more money on resources. Or if you don't do anything and you compress it, the quality of the work you're doing will be impacted. So between the three parts of the project management triangle, they all affect each other. I have found in my experience, I'm sure it doesn't happen all the time, but if you are really watching the financial component of your project, so you're buying materials on time and you're delivering materials to site at the right time and you're invoicing your customer properly and you're tracking the hours that are getting booked on timesheets for project management hours, design hours, engineering hours, commissioning hours. If you're tracking all those hours each month and you're watching them because it's not just about the money, it's when you're tracking this, sometimes the opposite will happen. You'll realize that the design guys, or you as the project engineer, are not booking time to design where you should be in February, and that means that you're not doing the work you're supposed to be doing. So as you update the financial forecast, it shows that you're making more money because you're not doing something. But before you start doing high fives with your friends, stop. The other side of the coin is that you're not doing the right work at the right time, which will cause an issue down the road. So when you are checking the forecast and you're saying to yourself, okay, I have to do 8 hours of design every week for the next 4 weeks, and you block that time out in your timesheet and you do that work and you book that time to your timesheet and it comes through the project, you update the forecast and you're on track. When everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing at the right time, I have found that the other parts of the project just happen to work out okay. The quality is normally quite good. The customer is usually quite happy. You're getting things done on time. You keep up with the program. So I always found, me personally, this is not a real fact, I found that when the money was being spent at the right time and the right amount of money was being spent, the other things, the whole project seems to run quite well. Now, another thing is, I'll give you another story. So I was too busy once with technical delivery and from last week, the perceived critical path of the project, helping my customer, the mechanical contractor, get their air and water balancing done using my commissioning staff. When I was busy and not running the financials of my project, I forgot once to pay or forgot to sign off my installation subcontractors' progress claim, their invoice. I forgot to sign it off and they were paid late. And the next time I was on site, Brett took me one side and said to me, Bryce, I will not lose my mortgage for you. If you miss my payment one more time, we're not going to be here. Even telling you now, I feel quite emotional about that because I remember how bad that was. That like ruined my day. And I never ever forgot to sign off a subcontractor's invoice ever again. I updated my project management process. I put a check in place every month to do that. At the start of this video, I told you that I would show you a way that guarantees the financial success of your project. Now, of course, there are projects that it is impossible to achieve the forecasted profit. Maybe the job was sold incorrectly, or maybe some of your agreed variations are not being paid or will not be paid. But if nothing else, the financial forecast, just that one tool out of a whole bunch of things, will give you an early warning that there's going to be trouble and at least give you a chance to try and recover those losses some other way. Also keep in mind that the financial forecast is just one thing that we're doing around a whole bunch of project management things that we need to do to ensure the success of a project overall, not just the cost of the project. Please see in the description below a link to the online course, Project Management for Engineers. If you are disciplined enough to follow that process end to end, you will immediately start to make more money on your projects or lose less money on your projects. In 8 to 10 hours, you will know what I know about delivering successful projects. If you got some value from this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.